Da-da-da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes. Get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And, this is a kind of introduction that is pretty consistent every single day when I come in. And if you hang out with me for any length of time, you'll get to recognize that. But it is in that reasoning that, we have 5 seconds to catch somebody's attention for the most part, that we should take that opportunity to make an impression. And I hope I made I hope I made a good impression, that in this moment, you're still with me. And that's that idea. Everybody is vying for somebody or everybody's attention, right? Whether or not you're taking your fair share or you're making with me, the word that comes to my mind is that paddling, because I think that sometimes that I'm so far behind in where I'm supposed to be that I find myself pedaling a little bit faster sometimes than what I think is pretty healthy for somebody. The whole point of me coming live every single day is to help me feel comfortable in that movement that I feel I need to make, and just to feel like I'm not in it by myself, number one, or maybe that's number two, but also in that idea that in that moment is the best opportunity to make an impact to, right? That this opportunity for me to make a choice in what I'm going to talk about. And I know what I'm talking about. Well, not maybe in this moment, but I know the topic of this week in forgiveness. But this is spewing in the moment, so we'll just carry on with it. Hello, Andrew. And maybe I can say that Andrew's beautiful comment on my live show yesterday, it gave me some insight. It gave me something to think about. I started off yesterday talking about how important it is. Sometimes we hold on to these grudges, and we think we rightfully can hold on to these grudges. Well, rightfully, right? Maybe you can. But do you want to? Do you want to carry that weight on you your entire life and keep it as a thought? We have enough memories, and we probably have enough not so preferable memories that, why do we want to carry things on, especially when that's what we're carrying on isn't carrying on with us in any way. You know what I mean? That we're keeping those ties, that right, that person doesn't even remember, right? So sometimes we talked about, right, needing to forgive those who do us wrong, right? And then yesterday talked a little bit about forgiving ourselves in that way. But sometimes we have to take note that, maybe we forgive a little bit too much, right? That right, especially me as a Canadian, we know Canadians are well known to constantly apologize. You bump into me, I'm apologizing, right? It's just part of our common courtesy. It's part of our culture, right? Here, and again, recognizing that it takes all kinds to make the world, that it is part of my culture to be apologetic, right? In that uncomfortable closeness that sometimes that we get unintentionally crossing somebody's boundaries. And maybe it's in that epigenetic trauma, because this country being settled in the late 1800s and early 1900s, most of the people who did settle here were traumatized by that experience, or were already traumatized, right? Coming into that experience. And as the generations move forward a little bit, right? It's in how we're calming our systems, right? I do believe some of these problems that we have are just passed down from one generation to the next, whether it's physical issues, whether it's emotional issues, whether it's mental issues, traditional, cultural, right? Political, religious, right? That we carry this stuff with us from one generation to the next. So, recognizing as a Canadian, I'm naturally inclined to constantly apologize, but also recognizing as somebody who epigenetically and even in my own lifetime carry these limiting beliefs sometimes in that hypervigilance of my own safety I have these traits, right, that make it so that we can be over apologizing, but at the same time, right, we can be. I'm trying to think how to express this, how to express this in order not to make people feel bad, right? It's that carpet. When I talk about, Andrew knows when I talk about not turning the other cheek, right? But I always look into the intent in that. And then in not turning the other cheek, there's a lesson in that. There should be a lesson in that, right? Because otherwise, we're giving permission for these characters to go off and do the same thing again to somebody else. And we have to take responsibility because in that moment, we had an opportunity to say something, express something. But not everybody has that talent to feel out that character, to know where that boundary is, what's going to set them off. So we have to be creative and we have to be a little bit feely, right, in how to give that lesson. This is how I feel. Lots of people wouldn't even bother, right? Lots of people just go, oh, okay, and off they go. I'm sorry, off they go, right? And carry on with their life, but beat themselves up all day long because they didn't say anything when they had that opportunity. And they're second guessing themselves, like, did I deserve that? Right? Is there something I could have done? And we carry that. That character's totally forgotten about it, but we're carrying it on, right? And then it happens again, and it happens again, and it happens again, right? And it's sometimes in hitting that last nerve that person hit it, and they are the recipient of all those opportunities to give a little lesson, right? Being creative in how we give that lesson, feeling it out instead of just walking away. Is there, right? Even if we just go, are you feeling okay? Right? And letting somebody know that you recognize something was off in how they presented to you, right? But in forgiving, we have to put a limit on that. We have to put a boundary on how much do we forgive, right? Do we let our best friend keep stealing our boyfriends over and over and over again? Not like that consistently happened to me, right? And when it did, it happened to be my sister who did that to me. But, right? But that's the thing. If she had done that consistently over and over, how many times do you forgive that, right? And especially when there is no recognition that there's any forgiveness that's needed to be had. That person just blew off on you and they think nothing of it. And they don't even give it another thought, but they've just destroyed your day or destroyed your week or destroyed your life, right? And you carry it on. You can carry it on for a couple of hours when you have other things to focus on, right? Hello, Andrew. I know you're there, dear. So there's forgiveness, and I'm covering all my bases this week because we are getting this word forgiveness for a second for a second time. I'm just looking at the clock because I don't want to miss my bus. I missed my bus yesterday. I got to work on time, but not in time to grab a cup of coffee at the coffee shop before I went to work. So I had to go a couple hours without my coffee, God forbid, right? And it was okay. It was okay. But today I'd like to be on time for work. I got my coffee mug in my granny bag right now, so I can wheel it off. And then after work, I'm going to go and I'm going to get some real hydration, some light spritzers and stuff like that. Not alcohol, but like sparkling waters and stuff. And see if I can get more hydration in a more healthier way into me. Right. I got to be proud of the efforts. And so I'm going to make that effort. And whether or not works out, and I'm going to be optimistic, right? Because I have to be, because it's the only way it will work, because I'm not naturally inclined to water. Okay, but we got to get back on the topic here before we run off. Okay, so Andrew says it can be challenging balance. I heard someone talk about forgiveness, but that it doesn't mean allowing ongoing mistreatment. Yeah, and that's why it ties in very nicely with that idea that we shouldn't always turn the other cheek, right? But then again, Andrew, I'm thinking of yesterday when you were in that comment and you were telling me about that story of that lady who went off on you, but then, sometime later she stopped you to tell you how amazing you were. And I thought, well, if you had taught her a lesson and if you hadn't properly felt out that moment, that lesson might have been absorbed, right? You might not have gotten that beautiful, right? Because in the end it was beautiful because it was confirmation of, right, the person that you are, because somebody saw you differently in a moment and expressed that in that moment it was a confirmation that, okay, I am a good person, right? And she might not be so terrible as I thought she was, right? And then maybe take that in as a lesson and look at it even deeper, in a deeper way. And then you never know who you come across in your travels who has had that experience. And then you can express the experience that you have, and maybe they can look at it a little bit differently, right? Forgiveness is truly huge. It's a big one, but it doesn't mean be the doormat. It doesn't mean constantly just letting, right, the same thing happen over and over again, and you be the recipient, you be the bearer of that bad feeling to hold on to, right? For lots of us, we've done it our entire lives. And right, it's in these kind of lessons and these kind of conversations that maybe we get to recognize, right? Something that we have been misstepping in, that maybe in this moment we can rectify. And it's not a maybe we can rectify it. We can rectify it because it's never too late. Oh my goodness. I'm the evidence of that. Okay, before we run off, I want to read this comment. Andrew, again, when I wrote fiction that involved cruel characters based on real people, I got a sense of how sad and empty their lives are. That's beautiful. That's empathy, Andrew. That's empathy. That's being able to put yourself in other people's shoes. That's being able to look at something in a different perspective. And even though that perspective is not the same of yours, it's still a perspective, right? It's still a perspective. And these can be baselines for boundaries. These could be baselines for openings and conversations, right? These are baselines of understanding that it takes all kinds to make the world, right? It makes it possible that it could be a baseline of being able to forgive, right? Because you're taking somebody else's point of view, right? You're looking at things a little bit differently, a little bit in the way that somebody else is looking at it. That's absolutely amazing. Empathy. We should talk about that sometimes. That word is gotta be on my list. I don't know what the words are that are not on my list. I'm not going to cheat anymore, but that word better be on my list. Empathy. I'm ready to munch on that one. Okay, you guys, I've got to run off to work. Everybody, have a great weekend. We'll see you again on Monday if you want to come in. Sunday nights, 7:30 Central. Andrew is one of my moderators on Chatters Live on Sunday nights. Come in, pop in, say hi, right? Let us know, right? Something you'd like to talk about. I'm a big yapper. I can yap all day. Andrew can confirm that, right? But sometimes it's in the topics of conversation, right? It's why we have the comments here, right? Start that conversation and we can get into it, right? I'm here every day. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. See you tomorrow. Oh no, yeah, see you tomorrow if you're on Instagram. No, Saturday. Saturday is Instagram. Sunday is Tatters Live, and we'll be back on Monday. Oh my goodness. Have a great day. Bye-bye.